And now we got to go down here and we're going over to Arizona. All right. And we're going to be talking to Lisa. Hi, Lisa. How are you today?
My husband is in the valley since I understand it's the valley. I discovered by he crystallized because that's when he told me that he was in love with another person. They were coming to live with us. I mean, live in my town.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 3 months, July 30th, but we lived together for 2 months. I previously had an affair 3 years ago. The
Mm-hmm.
condition to me, even though everything that happened, the condition to me was that I lose weight. And I didn't lose the weight because I was going through a lot of stress. I eat my feelings, a lot of things, and he was very angry. That's when I learned about marriage helper. I thought I was crazy. That's how I figured out that I was in Limerence. I tried to explain it to him, but he never wanted to hear anything. For 3 years, he was angry. For 2 years, then he started a Limerence affair long distance since November last year. So it's been a year now. He
Mm-hmm.
crystallized 3 months ago. My question is, can you go with crystallization to the valley? Because he left, like we kind of work in our programs. I lost my weight, and he was starting to show that he was very confused. That he even told me, I don't know if I love her, but I need to do this because you know what you went through. Like he kind
Mm-hmm.
of says that I owe it to him.
Mm-hmm.
He acts like I owe it to him because of what I went through. And he still expresses, you don't know what I'm going through. This is very hard. He asked me about everything I do, but when I can't ask, I don't know if it's a push because basically she works nights. So those nights he stays in my house telling her that it's because I have a special needs and I need to sleep. My son does have insomnia, and I sometimes can't sleep for 3 or 4 days. But he says that he's doing it because he wants to be with me, and we have like a better relationship. We do
Okay.
have a better relationship. Sometimes I relapse, but can you have a valley right at the same time of crystallization? And how long should I keep this? If I do think in his eyes we're doing better.
Okay. Well, let me explain to the maybe other people listening a couple of things, if I may, very quickly, because you use some terms they may not be familiar with. And so let me explain those. When Lisa talks about crystallization, that's actually what we refer to as the second phase of a thing called limerence. Limerence has to do with a lot of things. Now, I don't have time to explain limerence here because we have so many callers waiting. If you would like to know about limerence, here's what I recommend that you do. You go to youtube.com/marriage helper. And if you go to youtube.com/marriage helper and subscribe, and if you subscribe there, we have several thousand subscriptions. Subscribe there. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And then you have access to all kinds of videos that we've done there, and you'll find several that are on the subject of limerence. Sometimes they'll be titled things like Madly in Love, because limerence is a version of being, quote, madly in love, end quote. Now, I'm actually writing another book about limerence. Actually writing my first book about limerence. I've written many books, the first book about limerence. And in that, I'm talking about the 3 phases of limerence, and I've talked about that some on recordings and etc. And that's where Lisa's getting this idea of crystallization. Limerence basically has 3 phases, but it's not always easy to know which phase a person is in. Now, she's convinced that her husband is in the second phase, which is crystallization, and if he is, then that's the most intense level of limerence. I mean, it's pretty powerful right there. I don't have time to explain it again. Go to the YouTube videos and watch for the book when it finally comes out. Although, based on my current level of completion, it should be finished about 10 years after I die. I'm going to try to get that book done as quickly as I can, but you're guessing if you guess that a person is crystallization. Even Lisa having to guess there, because there's no bona fide test that'll tell you. But if you're there, you're in an intense situation, very intense. Now, what she went on to describe, if you heard what Lisa was saying, pardon me, allergies here. What she was describing is that he's with her, but he's also with Lisa. That particularly on the nights that she's working, he's back over here, and that he's actually saying things to Lisa to try to get her not to end this thing. as she was saying it, almost as if you owe me, because since you have been through limerence earlier in our relationship, you understand the intensity of the emotion I'm feeling. Therefore, since you understand the intensity of the emotion I have for this other person, I'm asking for some tolerance. I'm interpreting that. That's the word I'm using based on what Lisa said. I'm asking for some tolerance. Let me live like this for a while with her, but still somehow making a relationship with you. Now, that is what we refer to as the valley. The valley is when a person has a relationship with two people, the spouse and someone else. And as they live in the valley, they don't have to really make a choice. Now, he's trying his best to keep Lisa from forcing a choice by telling her the things that he told her. You've been there, you need to understand. And that's designed, I don't know him, I'm guessing, but I'm pretty sure my guess is right. That's designed to keep her from making any kind of action that would stop this valley. In other words, I'm living here with a relationship with her and a relationship with you. I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds. I don't have everything I want from either, but I'm getting enough from each that is kind of comfortable for me to stay here. Now, when people have a spouse in the valley, they have a right, if they wish, to just go right in there and end it. To say to him, for example, Lisa could say to her husband, no, I'm not going to tolerate this. You make a decision one way or the other. Either choose her or choose me, but we're not going to continue like this. Now, if she forces that, if she does that, she actually used the word push because that's a word we use in a lot of our teaching. If she were to push that, force that, then she must understand that he has two options and she's not sure which one he's going to take. The option might be that he goes with the other woman. Now, she's got to be ready to accept that as reality, that if that happens, it happens, and not to beat herself up because she went ahead and forced something to occur. In other words, if you're going to make this decision, understand the potential consequence and don't beat yourself up if that negative consequence occurs. Because the other possible consequence is that he ends it with her and starts to work on this relationship again. And Lisa has the right to make that demand, one way or the other. Now, we do sometimes recommend to people that if in the valley progress is being made toward you, in other words, he, pardon me, allergies, I apologize, he or she, your spouse, involved with another person, but also involved with you, and if there's progress being made with you, in other words, you're talking more, you're understanding each other more, you're beginning to spend a little bit more time with each other, emotions are beginning to redevelop, particularly in the straying spouse, then sometimes it can actually be advantageous if you let that spouse continue in the valley for a little while. Now, I know it hurts. It's going to hurt like all get out. And if you can't handle it, then don't. If you can't handle it, then don't try to let it go on for a while. But if you can cope with it, and progress is being made toward you, rather than making the demand right now, and you don't know exactly which way they're going to choose, you can wait a little longer as that relationship with you intensifies, gets better and gets stronger before you ever make that demand, and then it's more likely that the spouse is going to move toward you than toward the other person. Now, people say, how long do I let this go? It's an art, not a science. It has to do with, is progress being made? Do you feel that progress is being made with you? Because if that's not happening, there's no reason to let this thing go any further. And another thing would be, are you really able to cope with this? Because if the valley is causing damage, not just hurt, it's always hurts, but causing damage to you or to your children if they're involved, or even to the other person. In other words, it's affecting you physically, where that you're beginning to find yourself to get sick easily, or you're moping all the time, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. If it's affecting you negatively in these ways, at some point, even if some progress is being made back toward you, at some point, if enough damage is being done, you still have to make the demand. You can't wait longer to see if this gets better, because the damage being done to you or to your children, or even conceivably to your straying spouse, makes it where, like, we can't let this go on further than this. The damage is becoming too bad. Therefore, I'm going to make a demand. Choose. Choose that person or choose me. Now, did you hear all that? Quick summary. If they're making progress with you and you can handle it and it's not causing damage, sometimes it makes it okay to let the valley go a little further so you can intensify your relationship. Because whenever you make that demand, the demand's going to be choose the other person or choose me. And if you make that demand, you have to stand with it. You cannot give it up. In other words, you can't vacillate and back off and go, okay, never mind. No, if you make that demand, you have to back it up. Otherwise, you're going to lose all kinds of things that are not good for you. So if you need to make it now, make it now. If you can tolerate it for a while, do. If it starts causing damage, don't. I hope that makes sense through all that. I talked through a whole lot of things there in a hurry.